Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me on Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Twitter. You can find me at you can find me. Excuse me. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. CBCaps on Instagram. There we go.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
I don't have the Comic Book Chronicles account. I cannot claim that one. And with me tonight, in sound effects you have just heard, come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings, live and direct, at close to our regularly scheduled time and date of recording.
Straight up Brooklyn in the house, representing.
Just a kid from Brooklyn.
Well, let's be honest. When we're on the right date, sometimes we get start a little late around this time, so it's technically become the time.
Right.
But you could also find this here podcast on the Kliqsoftheweek Podcast Network. That's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the CSPN's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Yes, and definitely don't need to be scrolling through Twitter. Oh, some very upsetting things sometimes. But what hopefully will not be an upsetting thing is this show as we kick it off here, Baby Pop. We're gonna start off with a spoiler-free, spoiler-light discussion on this week's Star Wars The Acolyte Season 1, Episode 7, called Choice.
Yeah, so on this episode, don't call it a flashback. We've been here before. And the premise of this episode is that we're looking at things from a wider perspective and from the perspective of the Jedi, as opposed to strictly from the perspective of Osha and May and the witches on Brendok. And it is illuminating, but I've been listening to some podcasts that have been critical of this episode because so much of it is what we've seen before, and what's revealed. Yeah, it's not great from a lot of different, from whichever way you look at it. Some characters come off in a very bad light, and we start to understand why some characters have this urge for vengeance after the events that happened 16 years ago on Brendok. So with that, I will hand it off to Roddykat, and I'll chime in when necessary.
So hit the bell real quick, because I feel like it's going to need to get slightly spoiled.
No problem. Incoming spoilers for The Acolyte. Star Wars The Acolyte. Sees episode 7? 6 or 7? I thought it was 7.
No, it was 7.
It is 7, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was right.
Yeah.
Incoming. 3, 2, 1. You've been warned.
Yes. So, and the reason why I say slightly spoilering, because what I'm about to say is probably going to, if you haven't watched it yet, probably going to definitely end up being spoilery. But not directly. In which I say this. The Jedi, who, yes, as Agent 70 said, we pretty much got to fill in the blanks of what actually happened 16 years ago on Brendok. And as he also said, characters don't look good. Basically, I'm going to say the Jedi, while seemingly wanting to believe themselves to be a galactic CPS, come off like a bunch of butting in Karens.
Kind of.
So,
But I definitely see the I definitely see the comparison.
mhm.
It's at least from my perspective, there were a couple of head scratching moments. Like, why did you do that?
Right.
And it's not explained in the episode, and I don't know if it'll ever be explained, which is just weird. So, but carry on.
Yeah. So I mean, and if it's about, I was about to say if it's about the same thing I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure if
But
that's
something that Saul does, because I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you talking about like in the resolution of a thing?
No, not even. No, just like he kind of reacts to something that maybe is a little creepy, and someone goes like, "Whoa," and then he
Right.
goes, whoosh, and that's all sound effects, folks, because that's as mildly spoilers I'm gonna get.
Yes.
And I'm like,
I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah.
right, and
It was an overreaction. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute here, dude, what's that?
But at the same time, it's also a trope. Anytime something like that happens, it's like, yep, that's gonna that's gonna come up to be something, and sure enough, it did. And something had to kind of kick things off. That's
Right. Like the inciting incident. I get that.
Right. But I agree with you. It's like, yeah, okay, you should have had a little bit more control than that. But
yeah, seriously.
Also a weird Matrix thing that was in there. And considering who else was involved in an indirect way, makes kind of some sense.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, looks like getting filled in kind of gave us most of the picture, if not all of the picture, because I don't think there was anything left out of that we didn't need to know about outside of probably what's ever going to get revealed in the next episode, which is going to be the last episode, if I'm not mistaken. So, I assume there's going to be a confrontation or something.
At least we got a little bit of Wookiee Jedi combat, which was a wonder to see. I was very happy to see that because it was like exactly what I had imagined and pictured in my head.
Right. Which actually, thank you, brings back something I mentioned during the our pre-show meeting. It was like, yeah, we might have actually seen why the Jedi Order doesn't allow or hasn't really sought out Wookiees as Jedi all that often.
Right. I mean, we don't know that for sure,
right?
But it's definitely something to consider.
Right. I mean, it also could be
I was joking. Right. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say, it also might be something. It could just culturally that it doesn't. Well, I think it's probably already been said that like, yeah, it doesn't actually happen that often anyway. That the Wookiee's going to be force sensitive.
Right. Well, what I was gonna mention is, and it's something I mentioned in our pre-show, our pre-production meeting. I wonder if this is like an acknowledged weakness or situation with this particular galactic race, and it makes me want to look them up in like the RPG guidebooks and handbook rules, like what I have handy and what might be available online, just to see.
Yeah, Wikipedia might have that information if that is something that's been put out there.
Right. But ultimately, like obviously I have an older one on my shelf, so I can take a look at that first, and then hunt online for the rest. But
yeah, that will be that is a question, but it's definitely something that's like, yeah, you can pretty much, even if it doesn't end up to being that case, you can still see you can still make a case as to how things would be that way. So not no shade to young Gunji, but
right.
So yeah, there's some happenings that happened. But no, outside of that, there's really not much else to say because this was pretty much the last piece of the puzzle. Well, one of the last pieces, probably the bigger piece of the puzzle from this show, outside of what's going to become of one or two of the main characters.
Right.
And
or three.
Or three. Yeah. Well, I'm taking two of them as one.
Right. I get that. Well, I mean, that's obviously a theory that there are two who really should have been one.
Which is, and it's been pretty much, been put out there, even in, well, made even more so in this episode, but definitely had been hinted at in past episodes.
Right.
But we don't know that for certain. So yeah, outside of that, what becomes of what's next, or who's left in the present.
Right.
And I don't know. At this point, it seemed like it could possibly go into another season, but I can't imagine.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. That's the thing. Given that there's one episode left, and how much setup has already been done, whether or not they're going to be able to deliver on everything, I think is going to be very difficult. I think they're setting it up to possibly, require a second season, but at least make, a second season worth producing if you want to know the whole, like if you want to see everything be resolved. That's how I see, this final episode setting things up.
Right. Not only what the current goings on resolves, but also probably laying some groundwork as to setting the quote unquote future.
Right.
Because I can't imagine them being able to do that and resolve this in the course of one.
Yeah, getting between here and episode 1.
Right. Or yeah, or at the very least sowing the seeds of, definitely, yes.
Right.
So, because the High Republic stuff in the books is still kind of ongoing, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to just leave that stuff for this. They're going to take care of that in the books and other stuff. But still, this will probably sow some seeds that'll kind of push a couple of things along. Most people.
All right.
But yeah, it was a good episode. We got the answers we wanted.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. I got what I wanted out of it.
Right.
I feel like overall the series has been up and down. So we'll see if they can stick the landing.
Right. Mother was back for a moment. Carrie-Anne Moss was back for a moment. Because of, that's not very much a spoiler because we already told you that with episode.
Right. And I wanted to mention something I talked about in our pre-production meeting, that because of they were making the Jedi look younger because this is a flashback. I was like, oh wow. Mm-hmm. I like the way they had Carrie-Anne Moss look with that little hairdo that she had and the makeup they put on. I was like, ooh.
Right. Agent 70 was like, hey, that Snapchat filter was popping. He didn't actually say that.
No, not that. Not that. Because you could still tell it was her, right? Those filters sometimes really, mess people up. But, I do like the makeup and the hair, especially the hair, because I think what it is that we've seen, Carrie-Anne Moss kind of age with, like she's picked up roles, and we were talking in the meeting about like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and some of the roles that Carrie-Anne Moss had taken on in recent history, not counting her revisitation her revisit with Trinity in Matrix Revolution. Wait, what was the last Matrix? The Matrix 4?
Let's just say Matrix 4 because I don't remember the subtitle.
Yeah, exactly. Neither do I. So Matrix 4, right? The one that came out most recently. Mm-hmm. They didn't necessarily de-age her. They were they were playing her in real. They were letting her age in real time, as it were. But it was nice to see like this particular hairdo on Carrie-Anne Moss. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Right.
That's code for damn.
Right. I went too far with what I said, but I want to say it's a reborn, but that can't be right.
No, I don't think it's reborn.
Resurrection. Wait,
Resurrection. I thought it was Revolution, but I could be wrong.
No, you might be right because Resurrections was the last one. Yes.
Okay.
And Revolutions was the third one. It's this.
All right. So I got 3 and 4 mixed up. Okay.
Yeah, that which is hard to do, honestly. So
right.
No one can fault you. So yeah, so that therein lies that. Now we're going to move on to the next thing we're going to talk about, which is My Adventures with Superman, Season 2, Episode 8, The Death of Clark Kent.
Yeah, so he, unfortunately, they don't actually kill him because he is Superman after all. But um, Clark continues and Superman continue to be a Buster, and he catches it from Brainiac and from Kara. Um, there is of course a rescue attempt, and I'll hand this off to Roddykat because he's I think a little bit more generous with how they are depicting this version of Jimmy Olsen than I have been, because every time he does something, I want to throw something at the TV. It just doesn't feel right, but it's my understanding that that's how they depicted him in the Supergirl television show, like this particular relationship with Kara.
Well, that part, yes, but
right,
general demeanor, not so much.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's a mix of the demeanor and the whole like going gaga. Just kind of, I find annoying. I thought he was okay in the first season. This season's gotten much more because of the money thing too.
Right.
Right. He's gotten a lot less tolerable for me.
Well, that's I think that's more of a kind of an anime / cartoonish type thing, as the way they had to particularly him in that part. So
yeah, like how they're different. That's how they're differentiating this particular portrayal from other ones. I get that. It's just like I said, kind of grating for me.
Yeah, I get it. That's not everybody's everybody's thing. So I don't care. Well, I don't care about it because I'm just treating them as like, yeah, these are all versions of these characters and not the definitive ones. So
right.
But that being said, like Agent 7 said, yeah, we got a rescue camp. We got doings of Brainiac still going on, and Superman / Clark trying to deal with that. Kara's kind of coming to terms with things. But in the end, the title is not necessarily that much of a misnomer, but not in the way that you would like. Not in the direct way. Put it that way. But it's all leading to there's 2 episodes. There should be 2 episodes Monday because 9, so we're getting to the resolution of this whole space thing in the next couple of episodes.
Right.
And it seems to be going where you would think it will at the end of this. I mean, they could do something different, but it's probably just going to be wrapped up and everybody's going to head home. But we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
And with that, to wrap up our live action, our television watching week, Agent 70 is going to talk about this week's The Boys.
Yes. So this week's episode of The Boys, I believe it is episode 7 of 8. I don't think I'm mistaken on that, but correct me if I'm wrong, folks over here listening and watching our show. But this episode probably makes up for several kind of downturns during the season of kind of like a lack of exciting storytelling. This episode has a ton of it. There are a lot of cool things going on. Unfortunately, there's a lot of gross things going on in this episode. So you can kind of, if you're not, if you're of the squeamish, if you're on the squeamish end of things, then yeah, maybe this is not the episode for you. But if you've been watching The Boys for this long, into 4 seasons, you know that there's going to be some gross out parts, scenes in every episode or every other episode of The Boys. Bottom line, though, there are a lot of great developments in the storyline in this episode. Everything from the characters who are the antagonists, the 7 who are now basically the 4, and the boys themselves. And there's some really like I don't want to say heart-stopping moments, but as close as you can get when it comes to like dealing with some of the main protagonist. Like we always, to a certain extent, you get to a point in some of these shows where nothing's going to happen to the main protagonists because they're the main characters of the story, but some of them have really close calls in this episode, so it's pretty exciting. So this makes up for a lot of the kind of humdrum episodes that we've had relatively recently. It doesn't make up for an uneven season, but it's definitely a good episode to jump in. No, not jump in on, but it's a good episode to kind of raise the stakes as we head into the final episode of this season and into the final season of the show.
Cool. And with that, we're going to get into we're going to get into the books of the week, starting off with Transformers number 10.
Transformers number 10 is published by Image. It's written by Daniel Warren Johnson with art by Jorge Corona, colors by Mike Spicer, and letters by Russ Wooton. So we catch up with what happened to the Autobot that makes a surprise appearance to save the day at the end of issue number 9. And both Roddykat and I were like, is that who we think it is? And it absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out why this particular Autobot is making his appearance later than the other Autobots we've seen thus far. That part is explained. And then we also get, obviously some more development in terms of, the ongoing war and what Shockwave's current plans are, which are fairly similar to some of the things we've seen either in the animated versions of Transformers and even, I believe, the earliest parts of the Marvel run on Transformers. So with that, I will hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah. That's pretty much the case. Yeah, and not only do we, as I just said, we also get to see how this late coming Autobot came where they are, including some ties to a couple of familiar events, one in actual history and other in Transformers history.
Right.
You think about it in a certain way. But the rest of what Agent 7 says is pretty much the case. We do get a couple of we get some we get a chat between Optimus and Alita 1 about some things. The quote unquote mystery bot the mystery stripped bot that folks thought, whoever thought that what words together. The mystery bot, we found out who we thought it was.
It wasn't exact. I was about to say it wasn't that hard to figure.
No, it wasn't. But it was like, well, it could be one of those things like, oh, it's not that, and it could be X other person or something like that. It could have been Mega Springfall. But no, it is. It is who we thought it was, because you don't just bring up the person and then what happens with that. We find out how what's the word I'm looking for? We find out Shockwave's mentality in this.
Right.
That's a nice way of saying it.
Right. I want to say, and I know that Roddykat warned me about this when he was reading it and I was not, and I had been behind on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been behind on starting this series. But if there's one thing I have to re-emphasize with anyone who has not yet started this Daniel Warren Johnson run on Transformers over at Image, it's that the sensibility is much more Transformers the movie as opposed to Transformers the animated series when it comes to casualties. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but some would argue probably done way better.
Yeah, but in a real sense, it's like, well, you know what? If they go down, they might actually stay down.
Right. And given what they've already gotten, what event they've gotten out of the way early on in the book, you can only imagine if anything similar happens to that, what's going to be the case. But we shall. But yeah, we also we found out that Shockwave, in relation to something Soundwave is trying to do, was no better than Starscream.
Right.
And I kind of felt for him. It was like, yeah, okay, no, just let him do his thing. Let him save his cassettes, man. He's just trying to wind his cassette up. That's all. Let Soundwave have his. But yeah, and we get some of the other
Was it always called Recordicons?
I don't know. I suspect
when I
that
I was like, huh? I bumped on that. So.
Right. Yeah, that's probably a thing that either, if it wasn't originally the case and just nobody ever used it, it's probably something that came up in one of the books, like one of the later books.
You noticed it, right? Just for like a half second, you stopped and like,
oh, totally.
Okay.
I was like, I don't remember if actually is that what they were ever called, but because I think this is not the first time, and this is not the first time that that name had popped up in the book. It's just that it was like, all right, I'm going to need to wrestle with that at some point, but now is not the time. Type of situation, because it's like, I need to find out if that's actually a thing or not, or or that was something. I don't think it's something made a book in this book. I suspect it was like I said, it was probably in one of the shows or one of the other older iterations of the book. That's not Marvel.
Gotcha.
Because the books after that kind of just like, well, we need to have the history on this and have to have a name and this and that, to try to build things out. So,
right.
That
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Because actually, that was something. That was something that I'm glad you brought up. Actually, but there was really not much else to say about it. I thought it was, as good an issue as this book has been so far. Like the things are kind of shaky for one group, and things are looking kind of decent for the other group. But also, I suspect that's not going to last long because there's still some other things out in the wind. That hasn't come back in the book yet.
Right, and we're getting some more spotlight on Autobots and Decepticons that we have not necessarily seen have the spotlight shown upon them in previous iterations of this Transformers mythology. In somewhere in the franchise.
Mm-hmm. Which is
there's so many out there. I was about to say, just as a quick note, there's so many toys out there and characters out there that the creators that want to put their creative stamp on these series have their own favorites. That everyone wants to see Optimus. Everyone's probably going to want to see Jetfire at some point. And obviously there's Soundwave and Megatron and Shockwave. Those are kind of like the three main baddies that everyone loves. But in terms of like the little people, I hate to call them the little people, but like the little Transformers and the lesser known Transformers, seeing them get a little shine. I know that Gears had a couple of comics geared toward him, no pun intended, in the Marvel run, right? But this particular Autobot that's a little front and center in this issue, I don't think he ever had any kind of spotlight in the original Marvel run. But I could be wrong because I didn't read the whole Marvel run.
Right, and definitely like Cliffjumper, he definitely really didn't, because he took he ended up taking a backseat to Bumblebee early on, but they took care of that early on in this particular.
Right. Only one VW bug. I gotcha.
Right, and actually, and Cliptop was not even it wasn't even a bug, but still, the comparison's still there.
Right.
So, but Transformers still pretty good.
I thought Cliff was a red VW bug.
No, I think there might be a version of him that might have been, but no, he was not.
Okay. Now you're gonna make me go look that up while we go on to the next book.
Because I recall seeing a red bug version of like an actual figure of him, but also the version he has now, which is his actual version, has been the one that's been, I don't know, was it supposed to be like it's not a VW Golf because it's longer. I don't know what the hell Cliffjumper was, but it wasn't a bug. Or let me phrase, the main version with him in the book. There is a definitely bug version of Cliffjumper out there as a figure.
That's what I remember. That's the thing. So, from back in the day.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look that up while we move on to the next book,
which is excuse me, X-Men #1, the new #1 from this week.
All right, X-Men #1 is written by Jed McKay with pencils by Ryan Stegman, inks by J.P. Mayer, and colors by Marte Gracia. I will just give the briefest overview and then hand it off to Roddykat in that we have a new status quo for an all new, all different X-Men lineup, which is definitely filled with some fan favorites and some characters who are definitely paired off with each other to a certain extent. You know, Quentin Quire is on this team, and they pair him off with a character from his past. And it's surprising. I didn't recognize the character right away, but as soon as they said the character's actual name, not the character's code name, I was like, oh, that's who that is. I know who that is. So, right. And to just briefly touch upon the new antagonists, there is an interesting twist on what we all understand to be kind of a trope in the world of Marvel's mutants, and it throws off the X-Men to a certain extent. And there is a group of I guess soon to be revealed antagonists. Honestly, I thought maybe it's just Nanny and the Orphan Maker.
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean? In like a different form. I'm wondering if that's who it is, right? Because the two characters, one of them calls the other Mother, right. And that my first instinct was it's Nanny and Orphan Maker, but in any event, I thought this was a good setup for a new series, and they have a new status quo. This is the group that's hanging out in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to do some cliff jumper research. Go ahead.
So yeah, this is a definitely an interesting grouping of X folks and one that's not mutant, but that's about the point. And yeah, I noticed the character that Agent 70 was talking about from their eyes, and I was like, wait, when did they get this code name? Because I don't remember that at all. And also I don't remember them and Quentin Quire being together. Also, I'm just going to reiterate this here. If you haven't been here for a long time, I can't stand Quentin Quire. They tried to kind of soften them up during the Krakoan era, and McKay seems to be kind of bringing back some of his old nonsense in a way. But I do love the fact that Cyclops kind of not necessarily put him in this play, but kind of was like, yeah, well, guess what? You died the most. I'm like, you know what? I love hearing it. And then Magneto comes in later on, which is kind of spoilers, but not spoiler, with a little barb that I know I was feeling about that character. Because, yeah. But like Agent 70 said, this was definitely a pretty good start. I know I have run across at least one person who's whelmed, I guess.
Okay.
For lack of a better term about it, but they did say they only kind of skimmed it. So, because they're not really sure about this From the Ashes thing in the first place, for reasons they may or may not have reason to. So, which I'm kind of on a wait and see. So far, we're kicking off pretty decently, and yeah, I don't know who the identity of those two that was in the background of these of what was going on. Which basically, hey, guess what? Not surprisingly, come out of the Krakoan era, the X-Men had to kind of clean up some remnants of Orcus. Kind of happens, I'm pretty sure there's still going to be some offshoots here and there, just like Hydra and whatnot in in the Avengers, because they're always starting off with we got to clean up this cell or this group or this offshoot of this group from some stupid thing in the beginning of the arc. So not surprising. Also, there was a rescue mission for an X-folk that you wouldn't think would have needed a rescue, but granted, sometimes it does. So, but it was kind of a surprise to me to see that. And a couple other folks that kind of popped in. I'm like, oh, I didn't know they were involved in this. And as I was telling someone like outside of this, I'm like, they never really tied this whole base thing together properly like I would have cared to. Because we know from reading and whatever in the news cycle, like yeah, the Avengers kind of took over this base or kind of cleared out this Sentinel base where the X-Men are located. But there was nothing saying, yeah, we could, they can have it or whatever the case may be. And I don't know. Part of that just kind of stuck out to me, but it's not like something that's very serious, Like yeah, it was a thing, and they just kind of came in and took over for whatever other reason. Also, wow, I got some typos in my notes. Very, very bad. But that being said,
okay, all right. So are we done with X-Men?
That's pretty much it. I did like the little banter between Magic and Juggernaut. They seem to be getting along well, but this team is barely functioning.
Right.
So what you got?
So I want to apologize to Cliffjumper for calling him a bug, but he was proportioned like the bug. That's the kicker, because it was a stubby little red car, but he was a Porsche 921. Okay. 924, 1981 Porsche 924. So it's a basically super deformed Porsche. So I apologize to all fans of Cliffjumper.
I'm pretty sure half of them probably wouldn't barely remember. Well, you know what? Let me not say that. There are some who will be like, "No, you're crazy. That's not what he was." But thank you for the clarification. Next up, we are going to actually. Did I go through all of the variant covers? I know Agent 70 liked that J. Scott Campbell joint. Momoko joint, and then we're going to go into the next book, which is Avengers number 16.
Avengers number 16 is written by Jed MacKay with art by C.F. Villa, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. This is the third issue in the 3-issue crossover with Blood Hunt. This is Cap's not Kooky Quartet, but Quirky Quintuple. I don't know, but I don't remember exactly how many people there are here in this little ad hoc Avengers team. But they play well together, and it's always fun to see these characters interact, and it's nice to see Hazmat get some shine, and Quicksilver being very Quicksilver, and Cap just really speaking to him very, very frankly and very earnestly. It's one of the best characterizations I've seen, but one of the best ways I've seen one character describe Quicksilver. Not just calling him a jerk, but I thought it was a very apt way of describing Quicksilver to his face. Well, not to his face, but directly over the comm line.
Right.
I got a kick out of that. That was one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, this was a fun read. I'm glad. So I have to thank Agent 70 for reminding me to read it, because I had intentions to read it, but by the time we got to our pre-production meeting, I had not had a chance to. And it was a fairly quick read, so that was pretty good, and it ended up being quite fun as this last couple of issues have been with with Cap and crew, and I think it is a quintuplet because there's 5 of them.
Oh, nice! There it is. So the Quirky Quintuplet.
Yeah.
So, but bottom line is, this is a fun interlude before we get back to regular Avengers business coming out of Blood Hunt. We've talked about this before. Next issue, we get to see them recruit Storm. So, I'm looking forward to that. And we also know, based on some previews, that this Cap-centered Avengers group is not going away. So, it's not necessarily going to be like a full-time Avenger squad, but this concept is not going away.
Right. So, and that'll pop back up once.
It's like Avengers Special Missions.
Yeah,
it's close, right?
That's kind of close. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be off the books, but yeah. Well, yeah, but yeah, that's pretty good one. So that's good. This is a potential Kliq of the week for me because it was fun. Probably won't be the first time an Avengers thing might get that notation, but hey, we'll see. As we transition over into the last book that we have in common, which is the Ultimates number 2.
So, Ultimates number 2 is written by Denise Camp. Art by Juan Frigeri, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. In this issue, there is a callback to a very famous or infamous panel from the very first run of Ultimates, which I love to cite. And because of the maker's machinations, gotta love that, right? Because of the maker's machinations, a certain letter doesn't mean what it used to mean when people see it now in this version of the Ultimates, and Cap is left speechless. So
yeah, that was pretty great.
So what we find out is that the I forget what they're called. They're not the Cabal, but like the version of like the Illuminati on steroids that runs this particular Earth because of the Maker's machinations. Install a minor villain that is, that doesn't get a lot of shine in the regular 616, but they kind of use them to a pretty fun effect. And obviously, there is some real world commentary going on in this book as well. So, with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat to finish up the comments.
Yeah, when we got to this person, I'm like, who? But also, I'm like, wait, why is he dressed like? Oh, because that's right. I guess that's why. But also, there was a part of me during that whole thing, yeah, like you said, the whole real world thing, as this character not monologues, but basically verbally diarrheas his conversation with Cap, basically talking about his version of America from a capitalist view.
Okay.
Also kind of had me put in mind with just a little bit, not necessarily directly, Avengers Twilight, which recently wrapped up. Because we see a kind of an Avengers group get to the White House to kind of to save it, even though in this world or in this universe, White House wasn't the place where it used to be, where it currently is in the actual world, thanks to the machinations of the maker and some deals.
Right.
So that was kind of a whole thing. But yeah. Let me see what else I was say. That wasn't necessary, but this is a particular Kliq of the week for me. Also, we come to find out that, yay, even though this group is put together, by the way, they stuck with the rule of sevens here for an Avengers group, so that was a good, a cool thing to see. But also there was a couple of, at least one of the members is obviously, given the nature of this world, kind of having a hard time keeping up, because of newly refound powers, that kind of thing, that kind of thing. But and I suspect they're going to address that at a point, or whether it's going to lead to what we know the character's going to get to. I don't think so, because it doesn't seem like they're going to go that way. But we don't know that as well. Also, we did get to see some mutants in this, and I wanted to bring this part up really quick because one of the mutants that we see in a panel, I thought was a new universe character, because we're not really used to seeing this character flying, per se. So it was like,
Right now, I gotta look that up. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was so. Oh, also, while we see the Ultimates kind of trying to take back the White House, Cap, basically we see Cap getting caught up on what he's missed during his time on ice, interspersed with what's actually going on with this mission going on, and it's one of those panels that is what I'm talking about for Agent 70.
Oh, okay, all right, and we find out there's a mystery character who is revealed as like a main power source. I thought it might be one person, but it was revealed to be somebody else. I would have lost that bet.
As soon as I thought I was going to lose that belt, because I was like, well, this is going to be a swerve. But as soon as I saw the silhouette of that person, I'm like, I knew who that is. But
really?
Also, yeah. I was like, I don't think this person. Well, obviously, when the character was made, it was like after the Ultimates universe was brought up, but also has had dealings with the Ultimates, a version of the Ultimates,
right,
previously, so that may or may not give you a hint.
Gotcha. I mean, the funny part is, my guess was revealed to have died in, I think, the Ultimate Spidey book, or something bad having happened to that character. Basically, spoiler alert: it's not Carol.
Right.
That's what I thought it was.
Oh, you thought it was Monica?
No, I thought it was Carol.
Oh, you thought it was. Oh, okay.
But they show Carol having something go wrong with her powers in Ultimate Spidey.
Right.
So, like while you were describing that, I was like, why should I have known I was wrong? And I think back on it now, I was like, oh yeah, I should have.
Right. Well, yeah. Like I said, it wasn't very clear, and it could have gone a whole other way. I don't think you'd be faulted for that.
Right.
Although I probably would have thought about it, like I said, I probably would have thought Monica if I had gone that way as opposed to Carol, but I could also see how Carol would have been the case.
Right.
So, but that being the thing, like, now, so how are they going to use it? Because I don't recall, this is a new wrinkle that I don't think has come up in any news cycles or anything, which thankfully for that, because sometimes that news cycle tends to spoil things. So,
right.
Also timely for when this story, and well, a little late, but around the time for the recent holiday.
Yeah.
In a couple of different respects.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think I said it already. Potential Kliq of the week for me there. So, there's not really much else to say about it. Ultimates is, as of right now, is still pretty good, but it's only a couple of issues in.
Yeah.
Wait, I need to. Okay. So for some strange reason, I thought this was issue 3.
Oh, yeah, we're not even up to issue 3 yet. Yeah.
Right. And I'm not sure why I thought that. Maybe because it feels like there was more going on in this book than not. And maybe that's why I thought there was an issue 3. But it's not. So, with that, we are finished with everything we have in common. And we're going to get to rapid fire.
All right, rapid fire review time.
I ain't got time to breathe.
First up for me is Absolute Power Task Force 7, number 1 of 7. This is a limited series based on the events that happened in the first Absolute Power, the first issues of the Absolute Power miniseries. So it's written by Leah Williams with art by Caitlin Yarsky, colors by Alex Guimarães, and letters by Dave Sharp. I will say that it obviously helps to be reading the main miniseries to understand how we've gotten to this place here. This is a little bit of an interstitial story. We catch up with some of the supers that have been able to this point, evade what Amanda Waller is sending out to try to neutralize everyone's superpowers. But bottom line is, we're starting to see some of the inner workings of this task force group that she is sending out to hunt down the last remaining superpowered people. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man number 53. Yes, I'm still hate reading this. It's written by Zeb Wells with pencils by Todd Nauck and Ed McGuinness. Inks by Todd Nauck and Wade Von Grawbadger. Colors by Marcio Meniz. And of course, who else is lettering a Spider-Man book but our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. Folks, yeah, this whole Goblin thing's still going on. Still not resolved, because we haven't gotten to the big anniversary issue that's going to resolve itself in. I forget what number it is. But I will say that, the art is kind of fun to look at. We have some fun Kamala Khan stuff going on in here, because we don't get to see her in her own book, but for whatever reason we get to see her in Amazing Spider-Man. So good, we get some Kamala, and that alone makes this semi-tolerable, but I still hate read this. So next up is Daredevil number 11. It's written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Aaron Cooter, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. I'm a fan of this Daredevil run. Saladin Ahmed is killing it. And There's some drama with Daredevil's secret identity going on, which is fun. There's some drama that kind of goes back to the Zdarsky run that comes back to Matt Murdock or Pastor Matt. Elektra's still, supporting him, and that's really helpful because in a book with events as heavy as this, it's nice that Matt Murdock has someone to bounce off of, that it's not just him and his thoughts. It's not bad to see Daredevil in partnering up with somebody. This is very reminiscent of I was too young for this run, but when Daredevil and Black Widow were teamed up basically in the Daredevil book for a long time in the 70s. And I think that particular dynamic is good for Daredevil in spurts. And obviously we're dealing with this whole 7 deadly sin thing that has been going on through the first arc, this first run of Daredevil. So this has been good. Highly recommend. This is a potential candidate for Click of the Week. Next up for me last up for me is Ghost Rider Final Vengeance number 5. I think this is Final Vengeance number 5 of 6. It's written by Benjamin Percy with art by Danny Kim, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. We get an explanation as to why we see Johnny Blaze doing what he's doing in that Blood Hunt tie-in, the Midnight Suns tie-in. And it's, obviously fleshed out more here in this Ghost Rider Final Vengeance series. I will say I enjoyed this issue, even though I pretty much skipped over issue number 4. I think I remember looking through it, last month when it came out. But I basically read this in full, and I don't think I missed anything in even the first 4 issues, to be perfectly honest, because I'm happy to see that the Hood is getting a little bit of a comeuppance, and we'll see if there is some resolution to this Ghost Rider story in the next issue. And that kind of made me smile. I was like, oh, good for you, Hood. You suck, And that's it for me.
Alrighty. Well, in a reversal from the last, I don't know how many weeks, I only have a couple of books left. Due to partial fault of my own, actually, because life, but whatever. First up for me, Gatchaman Galactor number 104. Never mind.
I don't have the credits.
Oh no, I have the credits. I thought you were going to hit the.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what you were trying. Listen, folks, Roddykat primed the pump on this one for me, and I completely goofed because I was looking at something else. I apologize. You know what I'm going to play? I'm going to play a couple just to make up for it. It's the classic, the Japanese, but this is the one we all know. There you go.
Super friend. Sorry.
Oh, stop.
You know it. We
I know.
Actually, I was watching me some Superman, about to watch me some Super Friends. After watching my Adventures, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, it's Gatchaman Galactor number 104 is written by Steve Orlando with art and colors by Kath Lobo and letters by Frank Vetkov. Thing. So yeah, this is a miniseries. If the name is an indication, talking about the group Galactor in the world of Gatchaman. Particularly as it pertains to the publicly faced leader of Galactor, and I say that for a reason which I'm not sure was a thing that was a thing in the original series. But luckily, I have the original series here that I can take part of that, or I could just read about it online. Regardless, but yeah, Berg Katse is the dude that most folks may or may not know. If you watch Battle of the Galactors, you know him as Galactor, but
Right.
was actually not, not his name. That is the name of the group, a la Oprah. And he's the public face of it, but there is a leader X. And I will say that I think Agent 7 is going to read this, so I won't spoil too much about it, but there's really not much to spoil. Except for this next thing, it probably is going to be a hint. But let's just say that the group Galactor probably has a Sith-like culture to it. Unsurprising for a supervillain group with a bunch of minions. But in relation to Berg Katse, as I mentioned, we get a little bit more into, we get a little dabble into his history and what he's and the culture of Galactor and what he is dealing with in relation to that. We also get a little bit of secret boss action in this, which is kind of amusing. But yeah. Next up and lastly for myself is The Hunger in the Dusk, Book 2, number 1. Written by G. Willow Wilson, art by Chris Wildgoose, colors by Sick. Apologize for butchering the name. Layouts by Mark Lamming and letters by Simon Boland. So yes, Hunger in the Dusk is back, and thankfully they did a previously on page because I pretty much almost forgot what happened in the first arc. I remember some bits and pieces. I remember what happened in going out of it. So luckily, I wasn't too fuzzy about it. But they give a nice little handy dandy page to kind of catch folks up because it had been a while. And in this particular issue, we see the current goings on with the Last Man Standing company and how they're dealing without a healer. Because the orc healer Tara has left them because of some things that went on within the group, and now she's out there on her own, which she had come across some stuff with the enemy, but we haven't seen anything on that just yet. But for the most part, we see going on with the Last Man Standing company and a new recruit that kind of reminds them of what they lost or who they lost, even though they were already missing. And some would say this new person who was supposedly taking the place of Tara has an enchantress-like quality to them. So it was kind of amusing when the character came up. So that being the case, I'm glad to see this book back because I enjoyed this book a lot, and if you like high fantasy books and anything I said so far may have some interest to you, you might want to check it out. And that, folks, are the books that I have. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week. What are you thinking of? I'm looking at Transformers, I'm looking at Daredevil, and even Avengers number 16 because I had fun reading it, just like you did.
Pretty much. I believe I said I didn't say it for X-Men, but yeah, Avengers, X-Men, and Ultimates. Transformers. That's just I just love that book anyway. So
there was a line in X-Men number 1 that just gave me pause, and I talked about it with Roddy in our pre-production meeting. So, as much as I admire Jed McKay's work to this point, I'm just like, nah, not this week, dude. But it could be another Jed McKay book in Avengers.
Yeah.
So I'm still thinking. Are you close to a decision?
We're weirdly enough, I kind of want to swerve, despite of what I just said, and give it to another book that I enjoyed just because it's back. But
the Dusk, yeah.
but no, that Avengers book was pretty fun. So
Yeah, that's the thing. Like when you think back on it, now, I was like, wait a second. And it's not recency bias because you read it last. It's just because it was a fun read.
right,
You know, like I liked, you know, the character interactions, like Hazmat and Hercules. You know, they literally call back to something that actually happened in an Avengers Academy book.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my god, I don't think I read that, but I can completely imagine that being written. You know.
Yep.
Especially during that era.
Right.
So.
And then for the X-Men stuff, it's like, you know, the interplay within the group, that in this intro to the group was pretty fun. I still hate Quint Quire, so that's probably why this book is not going to get it.
Right.
Not for it's not for the same reason that that Agent 70 has this issue with the book.
Right. We all have our things when it comes to, like, you know, certain characters. Like, I just can't take certain characters, so I get it.
Right. And while I did kind of bump on the same thing he did, not necessarily for the same reason.
Right.
But yeah, it was come to something like, really? Really?
Right. You know what? I'm just gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna say Avengers 16 just because I did have a lot of fun reading it. No, shout out to Daredevil number 11 and that's creative group on that, creative team on that, because they're killing it. You know, I really admire what's going on with Daredevil. If you can get me to understand that, you know, mild spoiler here, you get a character, a hardcore killer like Bullseye, asking somebody for help in a time of true need, and you start to feel for Bullseye in that split second that you read that in a panel, you're like, wow, that's a really good job right there.
Right.
Yeah, so Avengers number 16 for me, Daredevil number 11, close second.
Gotcha.
And, you know, shout out to Transformers number 10 as well, obviously.
Yeah. Good stuff. And actually, I think I am going to. I genuinely enjoyed all of those books. And Agent 70 kind of helped me out because now I don't have to actually pick one.
Nice.
Because it's totally...
and it shouldn't have to be. It shouldn't have to be like that.
No, like, and it's not
because
it's
I
not.
use, you know,
right. And it's it's a little behind the scenes. It's not actually because, like, if it was still like, there have been plenty of times Agent 70 and I end up having the same book because it was just that good, and this book is just that good. However, in this particular case, I want to give a little bit more shine to a book that probably won't get as much shine as any of those books that we talked about and said it was a Click of the Week, and that I thoroughly enjoyed as well. And that is The Hunger in the Dusk, Book 2, number 1. So
nice.
I don't think enough people are, or maybe I could be wrong. I don't know, but I feel like this book could deserve some more eyes on it. Also said the thing with same thing about Megadeths, which is a totally different book. Only reason why I bring that up is because it's a totally different book that more people should read because it's a good book.
Well, Megadeths is a trade that came out this week. You know,
another reason why I mentioned this.
Yeah, it's a trade that came out this week. So if you wanted to pick up basically like the second volume of Megadeths, trade paperback came out this week. So it's available in softcover. Go out there and you know, support Greg Pak and Takeshi Miyazawa.
And
Miyazawa.
Well, yes, there you go. And I believe the Hunger in the Dust trade for the first volume came out probably like a week or two, very recent. Actually, there was something else about Ultimates I was going to ask, but I have to remember it for after the show, because you did you get a paper copy of Ultimates or no?
Of Ultimates?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I didn't think so. I figured there was.
No. I'm not currently pulling it, so.
Gotcha. This is something if I remember later, I'll bring up. But right now, we're not going to worry about that because that's something related. Unless you're going to pick it up and notice that there's no code in the book.
Oh no, that's not good.
Well, they have a thing, they rectify it in the book, but it was a little bit of a hurdle that you got to go through to get the code.
Got it.
It was kind of weird. It was like, wait, X-Men's got a code. Of course it would, but Ultimates didn't for some reason. Like, clearly they didn't run out of codes. But again, that's a whole nother side thing. Let's get into the news section. But first, our first ad read.
Alrighty, our first ad read of the night is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torrontés, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we start off with cinematic news as we do about this time. And luckily we don't have a whole lot of news tonight.
It's like the post 4th of July hangover.
Kind of. And the pre San Diego.
San Diego. Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, I didn't really look that hard. But although there is something actually we'll get to in a second that I was looking for while we're in the show. Doctor Who showrunner opens up about making Richard E. Grant's Doctor canon. So I guess they added a new Doctor to the canon in the new Doctor's recent series. So let's see. Richard E. Grant, as some of you might remember, played Loki in the Loki, or excuse me, the OG costumed Loki in the Loki series. Got to specify that. So apparently in Doctor Who, though, he plays a rogue doctor. Oh wait, see, and actually, a certain other. Let me just read this thing. Let's see. The Doctor proved his identity as a Time Lord to Rogue, who's played by Jonathan Groff, who some might know from Hamilton. And there was a Blink and You Miss cameo from Richard E. Grant, who, according to this article, portrays the Schalke Doctor in a 2003 animated series. So I guess by them having that Blink and You Miss cameo, that just canonized that Doctor, that animated version character. Got it. Next up.
Alrighty.
He gets the fun news.
Yeah. I mean, let me find a good one here. Here we go. It's not so much this.
Surrounded by poop.
But rather, it's a little closer to this.
I feel the need for speed.
It's honestly, really what it comes down to is now I'm searching for the correct sound effect.
I mean, there's only one.
I know, but you know what? I'm looking for the one that I have that's going to work best, and here it is.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
And
Correct, there's two.
Well, exactly. I mean, I know which one Roddykat is thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Salute me, familia.
Okay, then there's
What, do you see now? There's 3?
Yeah.
I love it.
All
right,
I forgot about
Fast
that. But anyway.
Fast X. We don't use them that often, right? Because the last several sequels have been underwhelming, right? Talk about not being whelmed. Fast X Part 2 star Vin Diesel shares new look at returning cars in the upcoming sequel and finale to the series. So let's see here. There's a lot of movies assembled for a lot of vehicles assembled for a movie of this size. Probably somewhere in the 700 to 800 range. Yeah, that's a lot of cars.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture here, and I can see some of the like the Dom kind of star cars. Yeah.
Yeah, not a big surprise, as if you're watching the video version, you can see the Instagram post that we're talking about. Not a surprise that this particular car or version of cars
Mm-hmm.
will show up.
Right. Right. Definitely. All right. Next up.
Righty, next up. Oh crap. Some sad news. And I think this was from today or earlier today. Shelley
Yeah.
Duvall. You may know her from The Shining. Some of you, if you're deep enough, might know her from playing Olive Oil from the Popeye movie.
Oh, deep enough. That's how I know her.
Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, I just talked last week about watching that movie fairly recently. So it's kind of weird. But Shelley Duvall has passed away at the age of 75. I remember seeing something earlier on the news about it earlier, which reminded me of it, because I think I saw something about it when I woke up, and he wasn't quite looking like what you would know her from back in the day. But of course, people age, so it's another thing. I believe she has passed away from a bout with complications with diabetes,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so it's really nothing to say about it. Rest in peace, Shelley Duvall. Let's see. She died at her home on Thursday in Blanco, Texas. Yeah, from complications from diabetes. Her partner Dan Gilroy, which feels like a name I probably should know, but I don't think I do. Or it's a signing name in it. And then this article just kind of goes into most of the other notable stuff that she was involved with, including the aforementioned. Next up.
All right. This is rumor, but since we got a first glimpse at Sam Wilson's kind of Winter Soldier-esque. When I say Winter Soldier-esque, I think what I mean to say is the Cap Winter Soldier uniform, the Shield uniform. This is Sam Wilson's darker uniform look, and now there is rumor that we're going to maybe get a look at at least the first look on footage, maybe not a full trailer, in the next week, maybe or two.
No, actually, well, it was rumored to be a trailer for today, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well,
Because
the article stopped being legible to me, so I'm just.
yeah, this is actually on the shorter side from some of the other stuff that we end up get, but yeah, I can understand that. But yeah,
Right.
so the trailer was rumored to be dropping today, and as a matter of fact, which is what I was alluding to earlier, because I was going to see if actually it had dropped while we were talking or whatever the case may be, and I've just seen people like somebody lied about the trailer coming out today, blah blah blah. But also, I've also seen other articles saying this week, not today. But I've seen stuff saying, hey, it's supposed to be today, and I've also seen this week. I saw this week first, so that doesn't necessarily mean today. But we also know that there have been a lot of times where trailers would drop on a Thursday. Wouldn't be the first time for that to happen. But hey, it didn't drop yet. So if it does happen to drop this week, then there you go. People upset for nothing, I guess. But people were always upset for something on. But it hadn't yet. Next up, it was Agatha All Along. Yeah, that was a remix. Anyway, so yeah, there was actually a trailer for Agatha All Along that happened, which I don't think I've watched, and I don't think it's even tagged in this. Oh yes, well, no, I'm pretty sure that first one isn't yet. There was a trailer that happened this week, and I did happen to see it on YouTube, but I didn't actually happen to watch. So, and also shout out to our man Tim Adams for this article. He didn't give a source, but it just happened to be fortuitous that he was the one who wrote it. So apparently, the trailer Well, basically, something in Doctor Strange 2 with a character impacts the show, and it has to do with a character that Agatha would have been associated with. So there you go, and I'll leave it at that. I'm sure the trailer will fill in those blanks. That's what we
Right.
got right now. Next up.
The actor who did such a terrible job with Iron Fist now wants Marvel to make a Heroes for Hire spin-off show with Luke Cage. Iron Fist actor Finn Jones wants to bring his hero into the MCU alongside Mike Coulter's Luke Cage for a show based on the Heroes for Hire comics. So he's speaking to the Nerd Shepherd, and this is translated by comicbook.com. Jones said at a Heroes Dutch Comic Con that he'd be open to returning to the Marvel world despite his show's cancellation. He'd like to see the character continue, blah, blah, blah. When asked if he'd like to do a Heroes for Hire show, a comic which sees Iron Fist and Luke Cage team up, Jones gave a definitive yes. And yeah, go away, Finn Jones.
Of course he does, and he probably knows that no one else wants him.
Right.
So here's my thing. Mike Coulter part, fine, cool. Him, not so much. But if they bring back Simone Missick and Jessica Henwick for this show, I'd be willing to let all that go.
You bite the bullet and take Finn Jones with that, as long as you got the other three?
As long as I would prefer them just go away from him and put pay in place or something like that, or whatever the case may be. They bring those two back, I'll deal with it. For the greater good.
I got you. I'm still on the fence on that one, but I get it. All right, next up.
Look, they would be more for the show. I'd be there for more for them than that dude in that respect. And basically, who else wouldn't? But anyway, next up.
Oh my God, I would get a Sony story. So the upcoming Spider-Man noir live-action drama is adding another Marvel character as Nicolas Cage's TV show expands the cast. So Prime Video and MGM Plus are currently working on Noir, a live-action adaptation of Marvel Spider-Man Noir, which will take place in an alternate universe focusing on the web crawler during the 1930s. Variety reports that New Girl's Lamorne Morris is joining the Spider-Man Noir cast as a familiar face from the Marvel canon. Per the trade, Morris will be playing Robbie Robertson. Okay. That version from the 1930s. Okay.
Yeah. So I would I'm not gonna say that because I was about to say I can't remember how old that dude is, but I was like he would probably be a slightly younger Robbie.
Right. Not an editor, but more a straightforward journalist.
Right. And I'm trying to remember the dude that played Bill. Was it Bill Nunn who played him? They just kind of gave him gray highlights.
Right.
But
I gotta look it up. Yeah, gotta look it up.
But yeah, so that's the thing. Also, I'm going to add this here so I don't have to put it in next week. Apparently, that Spider-Man Noir show has also cast, or potentially has cast Brendan Gleeson as Norman Osborn. I think that may or may not be rumor. I'm not looking at this other article from Screen Rant from earlier today. That says as much. That'll probably be in the show notes as well. But next up, going back to the Acolyte showrunner explains the Sith villain's nakedness in episode 6. Quote, "It had to happen."
I love it. I love it.
That's usually the thing they say in cases like this. I was like, I don't know if that's actually the case, but hey, whatever. So I'm going to say before I even get into this article, there is a slightly longer article in the show notes that is the interview where this particular article came from. So if you're interested in seeing the whole interview from I think it was Collider or whoever, you can go check it out in the show notes. But basically, showrunner Leslie Headland recently talked about the scene where Kamir was all naked and people tongues was wagging and all that kind of good joke. Said that it happened. Said Lucasfilm really believed in my vision from a narrative perspective. It had to happen. It had to. He's like, oh God. He did like a Steven Seagal neck snap in the previous episode, which I'm not sure how you equate that to him being naked in the next episode. But oh well, here we go. How do you at all get from that to humanity? The only way to do that is to show him in such a wildly vulnerable position, and it had to be visual. So there you go. Ask the end answer. And the article goes on from there, but again, like I said, you can kind of part that I'm pretty sure people stop listening to that naked dude shit. So, but yeah, next up.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. We got some pretty cool news about Godzilla -1 this week because we're getting a Blu-ray edition, especially a box set that's going to be exclusive to the Godzilla website. There is a Toho website for this, so I'm looking for details on this. Yeah, Godzilla.com. You can pre-order it. Actually, wait, no, I think it's up for release. I just got to see because all of these websites have like kind of funky. Oh no, it is pre-order. I apologize. I'm looking at the official website now. So you can get the -1 Blu-ray now available for pre-order. The estimated ship date is September. So yeah, this is the -1 Blu-ray Deluxe Japan Collector's Edition. It's the first home video release U.S. fans will be able to get their hands on, and the only one to bundle both the original and black and white versions of the film. Okay, that's what I'm getting. It's exclusively available on the Godzilla store. The box set mirrors the 4-disc deluxe release in Japan. Cool. I got to go to the Godzilla store today and sign up.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm laughing because I knew Agent 70 was going to bite at this, but also, yeah, you know, it's a tempting, it's a very tempting set. So it looks to be $65 according to the site.
$65. Yep.
So, and yes, this is 4 discs. Big fold out thing with Godzilla on it, and so I'm assuming we had talked about a potential Blu-ray release before, and it was supposed to come with minus color, and it does because yeah, it says distillery is -1 plus and minus color, so.
Right, because you get the 4K Ultra HD if you have a 4K Ultra HD player and TV. You get the regular Blu-ray, you get the -1 minus color Blu-ray, and then you get a special feature Blu-ray.
And a slight bummer, which I'm not surprised by this because Shin Godzilla did not. It did, but actually it couldn't redeem it because Funimation is gone. But I don't see anything about a digital version. Which may or may not, bother anybody. It's really not that much of a hindrance to me because archive it.
Right.
But also,
the hope is that it stays available on streaming while you still have access to a hard copy.
In fact, let me real quick search it.
Anyway, all right. You want me to do the next one?
Okay, yeah. So definitely confirmed. There's no.
Okay.
No, I got the next one. We're getting into the.
It's an anime corner.
Yes.
Anime corner.
Blue Exorcist Beyond the Snow Saga anime reveals new trailer and the fact that the saga will hit Crunchyroll. Well, probably will come out, but shortly thereafter hit Crunchyroll January 2025. It definitely will. Crunchyroll will stream both arcs as they air in Japan. So January 2025. If you waiting for more Blue Exorcist, go. Apparently, each saga is scheduled to air as back-to-back cores. The trailer also announced the who's ever performing the opening theme. So fans of that get that. I need to circle back to Exorcist. I started it, but I kind of fell off on it. Anyway, it was all right. Next up.
So, spoiler alert for the end of Haikyuu. I have not read all of the manga, but I may very well, because we've seen a decent amount animated, but there's a lot that's not. Haikyuu's time skip is being animated, staff confirmed. So this is from Anime Expo 2024. Haikyuu fans hoping to see the time skip before the anime comes to an end are apparently in luck, as the staff during a special panel featuring Production IG, Wit Studio, and Signal MD for Anime Expo 2024, a fan in attendance asked whether or not we would get to see any of Haikyuu's time skip arc animated, given where the next movie sets to pick things up. Following the end of the Karasuno versus Nekoma match that was in Battle of the Garbage Dump, right? So, they said that they, as revealed through a translator, those at the panel indeed teased that, quote, everything will be animated, unquote, when it comes to that major part of Haikyuu's final chapter. So listen, I don't know what happens. I have an idea because I did spoil myself by reading like a wiki article, but I do intend to read all of the Haikyuu manga just to see what happens, because it's a long time to wait between movies, and now I'm starting to get used to the idea of being interested in seeing how they adapt it and seeing what they add to to the panels on screen, because that Nekoma match, I did not have a chance this week to go see it in the theaters again. It may not be in the theaters any longer here in New York City. I got to double check, but I'm hoping to be able to see that movie again before too long. Next up,
gotta love it. Let's see. Yakuza Fiance anime to stream on Crunchyroll in October 2024. I did tell y'all last week that that there was going to be some news, a bunch of news coming out of Anime Expo. Some of which I actually didn't put in, but if there's a couple of articles that has everything. So yeah, it says here that straight from the Crunchyroll industry panel at Anime Expo, Crunchyroll is going to get is going to stream the adaptation of Yakuza Fiance, which I had not heard of, but apparently some people have. Although I've seen like probably a good 3 or 4 manga of that seem similar in in scope. So I don't know. Let's see. Next up though,
Fire Force finally season 3 anime is getting set to come to Crunchyroll in April of 2025. Special Fire Force Company 8 is coming back. Announced during Crunchyroll's Anime Expo 2024 industry panel, Fire Force season 3 will officially arrive in April 2025 for a split core final season. Concluding with the January 2026 anime season.
Okay. We have been waiting for so flipping long for Fire Force to come back, and god damn it, we gotta wait longer. But still, now it's gonna be a year between when it comes back and then the next time. That's not the first time stuff like that happens, but good lord, it's been. Wait, I think that was before COVID when the season of Fire Force came out. It has been quite a while. But yes, I'm glad because I enjoyed. I love Fire Force, and I've been one of those people who's like, when the hell? I'm glad at least we got a date, even if it's going to be a while. Maybe they heard me talking shit about them. I don't know, but probably not. Next up, though, Dr. Stone Science Future anime to stream on Crunchyroll. The 4th season, which I did not know was the 4th season already, is coming back. Some point says coming soon. So okay, cool. And apparently, as a part of the reveal, official art celebrating the anime's 5th anniversary was shown to fans at the Crunchyroll panel, building up hype for the story so far and the adventure to come. I've not seen one stitch of this show, but okay. Cool. Next up.
All right, My Hero Academia. Your next is coming to North American theaters on October 11th, 2024. So this is a special event movie from Toho Animation. And this film is set to center on the symbol of peace, who we all know is All Might. So let's see. Let's see. I didn't open the article. I'm just looking at the summary.
Which is the article.
You know, like I'm starting to get a better understanding of this, like movie, like the original movie OAV or OA, whatever they call them, that are not necessarily in canon. They are and they're not.
Right.
You know, so it's weird. Yeah. So this is to be set to release in Japan on August 2nd, but soon to come to America on October 11th. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, OVAs are weird because, as I've probably told you before, they used to be like, hey, here's the thing before the actual series that may or may not set it up, or like you said, maybe like a side thing in addition to the story. But like I said, because of the climate we have right now and the way things are distributed now, the OVAs are a little different. They still kind of do some of that stuff, but it's still a little bit different. So yeah, the fact that they're calling this an OVA, not just a movie, is kind of interesting and weird. And even some stuff you may have already seen is an actual OVA and not an actual series. Is like that has always been a weird thing. But anyway, Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War Part 3 reveals key visual trailer and more, and it will premiere in October. So apparently Part 3 will show some brand new, never before seen Bleach content, according to this article. Again, this is coming from Anime Expo. We got the opening theme song and the ending theme song for Part 3, so there's that. And there's a trailer for Part 3 in this article. And here is the key visual that was spoken about. I am not up on it's almost getting up towards One Piece territory in the length, but still not as much, because I think One Piece is at 1,000 episodes at this point. But I love Bleach.
Right.
Bleach is good.
Yeah, I think it's like 11 or 1,200 at this point.
Right. Bleach at last con was probably like 700-800. No, I might be slightly off on that actually. It just feels like that. And it has had its share of bad filler. Looking at you, Bouts. But anyway, next up, regular good news.
What's that?
The next story?
Oh yeah. No, I thought you were. I lost track of. I thought you were commenting on the previous story. Ninja Scroll official 30th anniversary teaser trailer is out, and it's slashing its way back to theaters this September. The 30th anniversary theatrical release of Ninja Scroll is part of Iconic Events Releasing's 2024 to 2025 AX Cinema Night series, and will screen in over 500 U.S. theaters on September 11, 12, and 15, and be presented in both Japanese with English subtitles and English dub. So I do not remember much of this movie as much as I liked it, because I think I watched it like when I was in college, and on a very small like screen, and I don't remember it. So
yep, I love Ninja Scroll, and partially because it was one of the first anime of note that I'd seen when I was younger.
Yeah.
So, and it, shout out to Sci-Fi Channel, not Siffy, Sci-Fi Channel. Get it right.
Right. That's right.
But when they used to show anime, and matter of fact, I think me and Von Gloom would talk about that a while back, and there was some stuff that still resonates with me that from that era. I wouldn't say including Ghost in the Shell, actually. But yeah, I would probably. So I don't think you gave the dates. If not, but 500
I did.
US. You did, yeah. So
yeah, I did September 11, 12, and 15.
Yeah, so that would almost be a thing I would do. Like, granted, like I said, if you're watching the video version, you saw me holding up my copy of Ninja Scroll, and I will not bust out my copies of Ninja Scroll to TV. They did make a TV show out of it, but yeah, it's a good movie. I love that movie. We don't talk enough about how good it is. I'm like, it might sound hyperbolic, but it's a pretty good movie. Especially if you're young and impressionable and just get into anime like I was at the time. So with that, that ends the anime corner and kind of into the manga corner, but we really don't need to get do a stinker for this because this is a side thing I saw. McDonald's and Jujutsu Kaisen has teamed up for a sauce. So it's a new special sauce. And see, McDonald's has revealed just how many characters would get their own special grade garlic sauces in the name. Let's see. Yeah, we'll make that again. Yeah. So the new sauce will be exclusively available on the McDonald's app starting on July 9th, which is fast actually. And will feature character art from the likes of Yuji Itadori, Megumi Fushiguro, Nobara, Satoru Gojo, Kento Nanami, Geto, Mahito, and of course Sukuna. So give fans an idea of what kind of sauce packages will be available. There was this Twitter pic that I'm not going to put up. The question I had in this was whether this was here in the States or in Japan. Because it felt like something that would be a Japan only thing. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, this article does not say one way or the other. So if you happen to open up your McDonald's app and see some Jujutsu Kaisen sauces, I'm sure there'll be a half a dozen YouTube talking about how it is because people just love doing that mess. Next,
I may have to read the Jujutsu Kaisen manga too, because I think I need to I need to put what I've been watching into more context.
Yeah, because most of the people who have seen the show had already read the manga, so that's understandable.
All right. Next up, the X-Men comics are relaunching with 12 new and returning titles. Here's everything you need to know. We've been talking about this, so this is an interesting article that recaps all of the different titles. The first one that came out this week is X-Men. Uncanny X-Men, I believe, is coming out next week.
That sounds about right.
And after that, there's Exceptional X-Men and Phoenix, NYX, X-Force, X-Factor, Wolverine, Dazzler, Storm, Sentinels, Mystique, and we've talked about this before, but you can catch up on this article and get a quick synopsis of what each one is going to be starting out with.
Right. I can't remember if we talked. I know we had talked about Sentinels, and when we talked about Mystique, but I don't think we did it like on the show. That was a newer one, even though we kind of talked about it outside of the show. But yeah, that's pretty much all of them. So there's the onslaught. No pun intended, I guess, if they run out of that. Immortal X-Men's Kieran Gillen pulls the curtain back to reveal the world and the cast of Image's The Power Fantasy. So this is a Pop First article that it was that talks about Kieran Gillen's creator-owned joint, which okay. Let's see. So yeah, we get to meet a couple of the main characters and get some character art for at least one of them, as well as a little bit more on the book itself. And check out the article in the show notes if you're interested in that. Next up.
All right, Green Lantern officially debuts new Lantern Corps powered by Sadness, changing the entire game. Really, I would be the most powerful sad lantern. Sorrow lantern powered by Sadness. Good lord.
Yeah, I would imagine half the world would probably take up that mantle at this point.
Oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me with this. So Star Sapphire's X has become the first Sorrow lantern. The Sorrow lantern. You gotta be kidding me. That's crazy. All right, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in here. You know, like I had been reading Green Lantern for a little while, but things have gotten a little wonky. So
I had started reading Green Lantern. What, you talking about the current one?
Yeah, the current
Okay,
one. I remember reading like the first issue or two, but it's up to
Same.
what, 7?
No, actually it's
Oh, it's
like,
well past 7, right?
yeah, it's like 12 or 13. Actually, 13 might have just come out. Now that I think about
Okay, 13. There it is.
it. Yeah. Because 13 came out this or last week. One or two.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is some emo new wave stuff. Embrace the sadness. You know, that's a play on an old song.
So yeah, I've been meaning to catch up with his book and the other the John Stewart. I think this still. I don't know. But not surprising because one is DC and two it's Green Lantern because they never stop making a core for something.
Right.
But anyway, DC heroes fight the trinity of evil in absolute powers. Epic finale. This is for
Teaser.
Yes,
Yeah.
a teaser. Thank you for Absolute Power number 4. That's coming out in October. And I feel like I said enough because, like, not surprising if you're keeping up with that whole thing, it was going to come to a head, and the two powers were going to eventually or go head to head. I was going to say the Legion of Doom and the Justice League, but it's probably not that far off. So, but yeah, this is from apparently a solicit from that I would guess this that they got kind of early because we just got September. It's not that long ago. Anyway, next up.
McFarlane Toys upscales Adam West Batman to match the rest. So coming from the 6-inch scale that I guess it had been done in, they brought it up to a 7-inch scale version now. So you get the new bat size and the same bat likeness. Love it.
And probably the same bat price.
Probably a higher price.
Well, yeah, probably, but
yeah. So they haven't announced that they're going to do a Robin yet, but it's got to be following soon. This article speculates, will every 6-inch figure get remade in this 7-inch scale? Maybe. We'll see. The Adam West Batman figure goes up for pre-order at major retailers starting July 25th.
I'm going to go so far as to say, yes, it's probably a definite.
Yeah.
Just call me crazy, but it's probably a definite. Anyway, oh, and by the way, yeah, that Green Lantern that we talked about did come out this week. So yeah. Disney Pixel RPG is a new mobile gacha game starring Mickey, Stitch, and the whole crew, whoever the whole crew might be. Let's see. It is free to play mobile role playing game from Gung Ho Online. The Japanese developer is best known for its smash hit Puzzle and Dragons. The game has a cute, gently meta premise according to this article. And video game worlds from different genres inhabited by a bunch of Disney characters have started to break down and bleed into each other, which sounds like half a dozen other games, including Kingdom Hearts. But okay. So yeah, there is that. You can pre-register, and the game is expected on both platforms, and the game is expected to release September. Excuse me. Next up.
Following the leaked listings, there are images on this website of the Asia SNS of the Amazon exclusive set of Voyager IDW Stormbringer Bludgeon and Deluxe Ruckus. Bring the Ruckus. The image shows the Tarn partial remade as well as another bludgeon figure with a new head, remolded parts, and deco. Ruckus looks to be a partial of Beachcomber. Okay.
Yeah, does look like kind of a re- All right, sure. Next up, though, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed official trailers dropped. So I think we may have talked about this in passing. I believe it is the run-based game with the four turtles in the style of the recent animated movie. So it's going to be available on pretty much all platforms. Yep, all platforms, and will release October 18th, 2024. If you want to check it out, you can check out the trailer. Or you can go play that Turtles beat 'em up game that .emu made. I was going to say it's probably on sale on Steam or whatever the case may be, but that's ended today as a recording. So anyway, last but not least,
Whoopi Goldberg makes her comics writing debut with the Change graphic novel. So apparently, if you've watched The View, it's no secret that Whoopi Goldberg is a longtime comic book fan. I had no idea. She's used the show to promote and plug her favorite things in fandom. I had no idea. That's pretty cool. So it's only fitting then that Goldberg will make her comics writing debut with The Change, an upcoming graphic novel from Dark Horse Comics. Co-written by Whoopi along with writer-showrunner Jamie Paglia. The creative team for the graphic novel also includes artist Sunkanmi Akinboye, as well as colorist Alexandria Batchelor and letterer Frank Cvetkovic. And the graphic novel's cover is drawn by comics industry veteran Kari Randolph, who I have met. So,
yeah, I think I have two.
Here's how the publisher. What's that?
I think I have two actually.
Right. I was about to say he's cool with Matt Wang 97. Here's how the publisher describes the graphic novel. Isabel Frost is a woman who has spent her life as wife, mother, grandmother, a life she feels isn't all she had hoped for. With a husband who has grown in another direction, a college graduate with a degree in science, Isabel is an amazing gamer who plays with people all over the country. With the help of her comic-loving grandson and irreverent best friend, she must learn to control her abilities and embrace her new identity as the Change, both the change of life and her surprising and extraordinary superpowers. Okay. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what she has promoted on The View as like her like genre things. Okay, so she's plugging Lady Thor. Oh, she's plugged Lady Thor. She showed off Vamplets, including plush toys and Action Labs comics. Wow. Okay. I had no idea. I honestly had no idea.
Not you checking her cred. But yeah, I had the only reason why I noticed is because my wife watches The View, so every now and then I would see tell me like, hey, this is you know about it, or I might be in the room where she's talking about something like so. Like, all right, okay, cool. So,
all right.
Did you? Yeah, you did say it was Dark Horse putting this out.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Hold on. Let's see. I didn't keep scrolling because all I'd stopped before the press release. She talks about the origins of the project, saying that it's just as outside the box as I am. That's her quote. You can look for the Change graphic novel to arrive in bookstores on Tuesday, November 28th, and in comic shops on Wednesday, November 29th. You can pre-order it where you can get your books and at your local comic book shop or at an indie bookstore for $17.99.
Yeah. Well, it's Dark Horse, so we might get a review.
Mm-hmm.
See. But yeah, and that, folks, is the news. Can we get one last ad read?
All righty. Our last ad read of the night is for keeping our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. Oh, I've got a Toy Corner thing. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment. It helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today. And the reason why I forgot about Toy Corner is because I did not expect this thing to like keep getting bumped up in shipping. So, I saw the email that said, "Oh, your shipment date for this thing is now this." I didn't think it was going to be sooner, but I thought later, right? Next thing I know, it's on my doorstep.
That's Amazon for you. Using the Scotty method.
Right, exactly. So what I've got is something I did not expect to have ordered. This is the 85th anniversary Marvel Legends series. This is the Astonishing X-Men Wolverine.
There you go. Okay. Nice,
right?
Nice.
And it is pretty cool. That is the front of the box. It's a pretty, it's a new mold for Wolverine. It's a mostly new mold. It's pinless, and the face sculpt is new. And the back of the box is the John Cassaday cover for I forget which issue of Astonishing X-Men. This is.
Yep. You got it.
So I just had to stay still to make sure the camera focused on me. So this is pretty cool. Looking forward to taking this out. I did not order any of the other Astonishing X-Men. Like specifically, I think it was a Cyclops. I didn't really care for that particular uniform, but I thought that this was like a nice little variation on the blue and yellow Wolverine. So
nice. All right, folks. This way. That is it for the show for this week. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It won't be for another couple of weeks when we'll be on Movie Protocol. So next week should be, knock on wood,
right?
A regular week.
Right, and maybe we'll even get that reported Captain America trailer that has been rumbling. Who knows? But until then, folks, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNerdNeed on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You can also find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts.
You can also find us recording mostly every Thursday night, which is our regular time at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Should be our normal time, but hey, things happen. On the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation, that's youtube.com/TheKliqNation, and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you know when we're on live, because there was weeks when we're not always on exactly when we're supposed to.
Yep, for reasons and things, or trying to catch those last-minute books.
Yep.
And yeah, there's really not much else to say. Like I said, Newsweek a little slow this week. Probably there'll be some more Anime Expo stuff leaking out. I don't know, but I did see some stuff that I think I got on deck for next week. So, with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
One.
Wakanda,